What's up, guys? Guess who it is? It's C-Mail. We're back. We're back playing Minecraft. Today, we are going to solve American politics while we play Minecraft, which I think we can do. I think we can do. I've got faith in us. I got faith in us today. Yeah. So I think what we are going to here. Let me sleep first. I think what we're gonna focus on really is the lack of civil bipartisan debate. I think that's what we will be discussing today. Dang, we are lagging. Let's stop that. Oh, the roof is coming along. So this is what we're looking at. That's the roof right now. We've got a little andesite trim, and we're going to fill it in with cobble. Did I only make 8? I only made 8. Gonna need more than 8. Yeah, but American politics. So I think what we are going to really be focusing on is how to get civil bipartisan debate going, because I think the thing is, a lot of people are really angry with the way the two-party system has become, which I completely understand. But with that being said, I think the issue with tearing down the two-party system, although I feel like, in theory it seems like an amazing, I think it was George Washington who literally was like, do not do a two-party system. Like, if there's anything that you do, do not let it devolve into two parties. I think that the issue with tearing apart the two-party system is that right now, if one of the, and I think people know this, if one of the two parties is like, oh, well, the two-party system is not good, and like a third party begins to come to fruition, it takes votes away from whatever votes would match with that two-party system. Like, for example, Donald Trump acquired, what is his name? RFK Jr. into his campaign because he was like, you're going to take votes away from the Republican side. So there's so much stuff going on with the two-party system that's a little far gone. I think pluralism is a really cool idea, but it's also, it's just interesting in the grand scheme of things. The idea of pluralism of voting is, dang, we are lagging like crazy. Good to be back, though. Good to be back. The idea with pluralism is that the country votes on senators, and instead of it being by like counties and states, senators and representatives, it's like a certain fraction that votes for a third party or something. It's like, then that's how the seats are divided up. They're divided up in fractions based on each party. So, for example, say, all across the world, there's no county or state that is able to elect a third party right now. In pluralism, it would be, okay, well, everyone votes for who or what party they want to be in the House, and then after all the votes are in, then it would be divvied up. It would be divvied up based on the fractions of votes instead of by county, because gerrymandering starts to happen when it's by county and by state, and that's when it gets like, a little scary. is like, especially now, everything going on with gerrymandering, the two parties trying to tear apart, carve out these states to get the perfect, just to get votes, really. Yeah, gerrymandering it's a scary thing. Gerrymandering, for anyone who doesn't know, gerrymandering is when the governments in states, or I guess now the executive branch too, what they'll do is they will try and divide the voting lines so that certain fractions of the population get split up. I think the original issue with gerrymandering was marginalized groups, people of color. They would split up these places where they knew there were a lot of people of color, so that they would get washed out by white voters. So gerrymandering now is trying to split up groups to kind of do the same thing, to like make sure, okay, in Virginia we're going to definitely have this amount of Republican seats because we're going to split up the Democrats so that there's no way they'll get a seat here. That's what gerrymandering is. It's like nasty tactic. But the thing is, who decides the voting lines? That's the issue. Is like, who really gets to decide? So though, today we're talking about solving American politics. Pluralism would take out the issue of gerrymandering, because it would just be, the seats would be divvied up by, it'd be divvied up by the fraction of the country based on voters and stuff like that. So it is a good idea. I think pluralism now would be really difficult to bring into power, because I think a lot of people in power like that they have definite seats due to gerrymandering and stuff like that. So a big issue in U.S. politics right now is that a lot of the power is held by old, mainly white people who are just repeatedly elected over and over and over and over again into their seats because they have found like this perfect strategy and method where it just takes a lot of effort from ambitious young politicians to topple their seats. And also then you need voter turnout, and a lot of young people are very nihilistic, and so they don't really want to vote. But you should vote. You should definitely vote. You should educate yourself and vote. I think that's a good idea. The Electoral College is also another thing where people are like, how dare you? Originally, the Electoral College was put in place because the Founding Fathers, this lag is wild, but I'm going to get through it because I'm talking about American politics. The Founding Fathers made the Electoral College because they didn't trust U.S. citizens to be smart enough and educated enough to vote on who they wanted to be president. Now with the internet and stuff like that, it's kind of, people think they're educated enough, and so they don't want, they don't want the Electoral College anymore to get in the way of their voting. But I think what we should solve today is the idea of bipartisan debate. Oh, I gotta set my timer. I always forget to set my timer, and then we're like 8 minutes in, and I set a timer for 15 minutes, and then we go way over 20 minutes. Okay. Set a timer for 15 minutes. If we're over 5 minutes, sorry. You got more video to watch. Raining. That's going to be great for the lag. Oh, that's going to be great for the lag. It's going to be spectacular for the lag. Yeah, so I think a way, something interesting. I go to this community college, and we were talking about bipartisan debate and discussion. And a lot of people are of the mindset that it is just impossible to communicate with someone in the opposing party. Specifically, if you're a Democrat talking sense into a Republican, or if you're a Republican talking sense into a Democrat. Both sides believe the other side. It's just brainwashed. And it's interesting, at my community college, there was this this demonstration that was done where they took two people from the Board of Ed, and they were two opposing parties, and they made them talk about solving, I forget exactly what the issue was, but it was some important issue, and they had a civil discussion because they followed a couple-step program. And the program was basically just about empathizing with the other side, and it was a very interesting thing to see, because when they talked about it civilly, it's like these parties can really be able to talk about it civilly. I think there was a little bit of, with the demonstration, because there was a giant audience of people, they didn't want to start screaming at each other. But I do think it was a really good demonstrate. It's just hard to do that behind closed doors. It's hard to do that behind closed doors because everyone is so attached to their political opinions, and then political opinions now, they're like this web, and it's like, okay, you're a Republican, then you must be MAGA, and you must think this about this minority group, and you must think this about sexuality, and so it's just everything connects. And obviously there's nuance to this all, so not everyone believes that, and actually that's kind of what I'm getting into, is the idea of everyone believing something. I think one of the greatest issues with politics in America is propaganda and mass media having an influence on politics. I think the media does a really, really spectacular job at being awful to everyone who uses social media. And what it does is it pins parties against each other, because they have now realized that that rage sells like crazy. They've now realized that in order to keep people on their platforms, a way to keep them on is to polarize them. So a lot of the American companies are polarizing American citizens. And I mean, you can call them out, like Instagram, everything that has kind of like a scrolly feature, a doom scrolly feature. What they're doing is they're tapping into part of your brain to addict you, to keep you on their apps as long as they can. And part of doing that is by enraging you and polarizing you. And so there is this idea now in most American citizens, just because all the media they consume is inherently polarizing, that it's impossible to talk to the other party. So moderates, which actually is most of the U.S., moderates now don't believe that like they really exist because media doesn't show that. So my solution would be, in order to get more civil politics, is to have media portrayals of civil debate between parties, third-party voices, stuff like that. It's like finding ways to push media that is not polarizing. The issue is the polarizing media is what keeps people's attention, because you get angry, you comment, you'll like someone who's on your party, and then you'll like their post, you'll comment on their post, and you'll comment angrily on someone who's in the opposing party. And so big tech is just ripping apart people and polarizing them and putting them in groups and making this barrier between them that's like you can't talk because the other person's crazy. So propaganda, which used to be about nationalism, has now become just party affiliated, because in the US, it's just the easiest way to profit for these companies is to pin people against each other in their parties. So when something comes out on the news of something happening, you have, and I don't even want to say half, because I don't think it's half. I think there's a lot more moderates than people think. But you have a good fraction of the country being fed media that is telling you this is exactly what happened, and this is why, and it's because of the other party. And then you have another fraction getting the exact same thing. That's like, this is what happened, and this is why it's the other party. And they always tie it back to, not always, but they mainly tie it back to low-hanging fruit. You know, a lot of things that have to do with minority groups, and just it's a really nasty way of pinning people against each other, is by I mean, I feel like you guys understand. I feel like there's not really, I don't think I need to nail it on the head too hard. But it taps into a lot of the, for lack of a better term, the touchy-feely stuff, and people get very, very upset, which makes sense. And here's the thing, and here's the biggest issue with American politics, is that while this is happening, while these parties are being pinned against each other, and we are, fighting each other, the government that is full of people being reelected, because mass media isn't saying, like, it's not saying, like, oh, go vote in the midterms. Like, I'm sure there are parts that are, but the thing is, while we're all, pissed off at each other and fighting, the government gets to do not whatever they want, but since we're distracted, they can do some really, really sneaky, shady stuff. And there are examples out there, I think, for all of you who catch my drift. There was a certain case, a certain batch of files that the DOJ has not released and still hasn't released to this day. And they were supposed to release it ages ago. So, yeah. And here's another issue, is things like that both parties are protecting, and no one wants to talk about that because they have been conditioned by the media to think everything is wrong with the other party, that God forbid they begin to question their own party's affiliation, or that there are flaws in general. And what everyone needs to realize is that both parties are very flawed, because we are in attack mode and defense mode, because these two parties are the extremes of the political spectrum. And because they're the extremes of the political spectrum, we might not agree with everything in our specific party, but we will die defending it because we are so afraid of the other party being right, or just being right about anything, really, because we're just so pinned against each other and polarized. But it comes out of fear that is mainly mass media and big tech making us think that it's impossible to debate with other parties, when it is possible. It's very much possible. There are still a lot of civil people out there. It's just all the civil people are afraid that if they have a conversation with someone in the other party, that they're not going to be civil. When what we got to realize is there's civil people on both sides of the party. There's civil people on both ends. It's just that we are now forcing ourselves to defend and vote for people who are outwardly not rude. I mean, it can be rude. It's just the loudest people. We're voting for the loudest people, because the quietest people and the people who will let the other person talk and everything, they don't get clip farmed. Like the clips that come out of, these big moments of proved you wrong, that's what enrages people, that's what polarizes people, and that's what the media will push. But a conversation about bipartisan debate where two people are getting along, like I saw in my community college, that is not going to be pushed out by the media because they know, big tech knows that rage is going to sell so much more than that. It's like you're going to have someone on your app scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, getting more and more angry, instead of someone getting on and being like, oh, I feel pretty good about the world, and then they like go for a walk. These companies want people to stay on the apps, so they will enrage them. So my solution to American politics, I think everyone is at a point now where they're like, dang, there's no way to save us. There is. The issue is it's a little bit of a cycle because the government needs to put restraints on big tech to stop polarizing people and show, mutual debate. But then also the people in government want to keep their place, and they get to do a lot of stuff right now because we are distracted fighting each other. So in order to solve American politics, you got to either stop one end of the cycle or the other. Either big tech is going to have to step up and mass media is going to have to step up and begin to push civil debate and moderate point of views and show that people can get along instead of inherently polarizing them with their algorithms. Or government is going to have to put regulation on these companies. Roblox has timed out. What the heck is that? I think I got another virus. Which would make sense because I'm talking bad about big tech and they can probably hear me right now as I speak into my Rode microphone. Not a sponsor. Yeah, so that's how I think we can begin to solve American politics, is focusing more on that, or at least getting the word out there of like media companies are polarizing people, because I don't really know how many people know that the point of views they have are fed to them, and the villainizing of other parties is coming from big tech, which is profiting off of it. So maybe just getting that word out there, maybe that's what needs to be done. But I think changing the media, or I don't know, how can I phrase this? I want to make a sign. How can I phrase fixing American politics? You can't just say get along, because it's the whole point. Everyone's trying to figure out how to get along, how they can do it. I think maybe maybe push positive propaganda. I mean, it's still propaganda, but maybe push positive propaganda. We finished the roof, by the way. I do want to show you all the roof. The roof is finished. The lag has stopped. It's pretty good. We're doing pretty good. Let's look at the roof. We got the windows too. We got the windows up there. We got the roof done. Oh, the foundation is cobble though. Maybe I'll make the foundation stone brick, because I don't like that the foundation's the same as the. I don't like that the foundation's the same as the roof. It's just the architecture in me, I guess. Yeah, but how can we phrase fixing American politics? I think my ideas are out there in the ether now, but can we fix it, Mary? Maybe regulate big tech propaganda. That could be it. That could be it. Regulate big tech propaganda. And there's so much more. I think the thing is, right now, we're saying fixing American politics. We're really talking about bipartisan debate, because a lot of people are just very discouraged by the other parties right now. All right, the timer has gone off, which means you have to make the sign. So I think but we will just do it. We'll just call it what it is, fixing American politics, and we will put regulate big tech propaganda. I think that's where we can start. We'll probably have another video about socioeconomics, and wealth inequality is huge. I think wealth inequality is another really, really important. So like maybe ending wealth inequality in America, but right now fixing American politics because it's just so volatile. Fixing American politics. Regulate big tech propaganda. Okay, that works. All right, that's the episode for today. I'm gonna cook up this. I'll put some stone bricks on the foundation. But have a good one, y'all. Oh, happy Monday! I forgot to say happy Monday. Happy Monday, y'all.